Making a huge multi-million dollar decision on where to build your next facility, well, it can be paralyzing, right? The future of your entire company could hang in the balance. But what if there was a simple tool that could just cut through all that complexity and make the right choice totally obvious? Well, that's what we're going to break down right now. So let's just imagine this for a second. Your company has to expand, and you've narrowed it down to 3 different cities. Now, each one has its own unique financial story. One's got cheap rent, another has lower labor costs. So how do you weigh all these competing factors? A gut feeling just isn't going to cut it when we're talking about millions of dollars. So here's our game plan. Over the next few minutes, we're going to go from total confusion to crystal clarity. We'll start by breaking down the costs, then we'll use some pretty simple math to find the hidden tipping points in our decision, and then, the best part, we'll visualize the whole problem to make the best choice literally jump right off the page. I'll even show you how to build this exact tool for yourself. All right, first things first. To compare these cities fairly, we've got to be speaking the same language. And in the world of production, that all comes down to 2 basic types of costs. It really boils down to this. Fixed costs are what you pay just to keep the lights on. Think rent, management salaries. It doesn't matter if you make 1 widget or 1 million, that cost stays the same. Now, variable costs are tied directly to how much you make. Every new item adds to this total. It's the cost of the raw materials and the labor to actually build it. Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting, because this table lays out the totally unique financial landscape for our 3 choices. Look at Athens. Incredibly low fixed costs, cheap rent, but each unit is actually pretty expensive to make. Now, Lisbon is the complete opposite. Very high fixed costs, but it's super cheap to produce each item. And Brussels, well, it's sitting right there in the middle.
And this simple but really powerful formula, this is the key to everything. It lets us figure out the total cost for any production volume in any of our cities. This is what allows for a true apples-to-apples comparison. So let's put this formula to work. Let's say our company forecasts that we're going to be making about 2,000 units a year. Using our data and that formula, which of these 3 cities gives us the absolute lowest total cost at that specific volume?
And the numbers are in. For Athens, we're looking at $180,000. For Lisbon, $160,000. And for Brussels, it's just $150,000. So based on our forecast, Brussels is the clear winner. Case closed, right? Well, not so fast. See, a forecast is really just an educated guess. What happens if we sell way more than 2,000 units? Or what if we sell less? Is Brussels always the best choice? This is where our analysis goes from being a simple calculation to a truly strategic tool.
This right here is the million-dollar question. We need to know the exact production number where the cost advantage flips from one city to another. If we can find those magic numbers, we can make the right call no matter what our final sales volume turns out to be.
And that magic number, it actually has a name. It's called the crossover point. It's the precise volume where 2 different locations have the exact same total cost. Finding this point tells us the boundary line where our decision needs to change. And you know what? Finding it is surprisingly easy. We just take the total cost formula for 2 of our cities, in this case Athens and Brussels, and we set them equal to each other. Then we just solve for X, which is our production volume. And the math gives us our first answer, 1,000 units. This is our first crossover point. So what does that mean? It means if you think you're going to make fewer than 1,000 units, Athens, with its low fixed costs, is the winner. But the moment you make unit number 1001, boom, Brussels becomes the cheaper option. Okay, so we found the tipping point between Athens and Brussels. Now let's find the next one. At what point does Lisbon's crazy efficiency kick in and actually overtake Brussels? We're going to use the exact same method, set their cost equations equal to each other and solve for X. And there it is, our second crossover point, 2,500 units. So now we have the complete picture. From 0 up to 1,000 units, you pick Athens. Between 1,000 and 2,500 units, Brussels is your best bet. And if you're a high-volume producer making more than 2,500 units, Lisbon's low variable costs make it the undisputed champion. Look, doing the math is powerful, for sure. But seeing it all laid out visually, that's when you get that aha moment of just complete clarity. This is where we turn all that data into a real decision. And here it is. This one chart makes the entire decision framework obvious. Each of these lines represents a city's total cost as the volume goes up. See how that green Athens line starts out as the lowest, but it climbs really steeply? And look right here, the exact points where the lines cross over. Those are our crossover points,
1,000 and 2,500 units. To find the cheapest option, you just pick a volume on the bottom and see which line is the lowest. It's really that simple. Okay, now for my favorite part. This isn't just some abstract theory, it's a super practical tool you can build yourself in just a few minutes using something like Excel. Let's quickly walk through how to do it. And this quote nails exactly why we go to the trouble of making the chart. It's not about finding just one answer for one specific scenario. It's about understanding the entire range of possibilities so you can make a really robust, flexible decision that's going to hold up even if your forecasts are a little off. It's literally a simple 4-step process. First, you just set up your data in a table. Fixed and variable costs for each city. Second, create a few columns for different production volumes. Third, use our total cost formula to automatically calculate the costs for each city at each of those volumes. And finally, you just highlight all your data and tell Excel to insert a scatter with straight lines chart. That's it. You've just created an incredibly powerful strategic tool. So just remember, this kind of analysis is about way more than just finding a single right answer. It's about deeply understanding the relationship between how much you produce and how much it costs. By finding those tipping points and creating a visual map, you can navigate these complex decisions and become a much smarter, more strategic leader. And that's our explainer. You know, this method isn't just for choosing a city. You can use this exact same logic to compare different software packages or manufacturing processes or even marketing strategies. So the final question I'll leave you with is this. What big, messy decision in your world could be made crystal clear with a simple crossover chart?